So for the sashimi and the tempura, I'm using brill and red mullet, a symbol of autumnal seafood because they're at their prime then. And to start the soup off, we're poaching shiitake mushrooms in the bonito stock. These are the young shoots of the ginger plant, and they've been blanched, cooled and dried quickly so they don't lose their crunch. Next, we've got to make the dipping sauce for the sashimi, and that starts with sake. Reduce sake with the alcohol burned off.
Really nice, the kelp aroma comes through very nicely.
To add to that, I've chosen a fantastic bottle of soy sauce. This sauce I discovered in Kanazawa, and it's flavoured with konbu, or kelp as we know it. This is also flavoured with bonito flakes. They're just like wood shavings disappearing in a bowl of gravy.
Very good mackerel we have today. We can't get this kind of quality that often, so this is very good quality.
Mr. Inoue, who's the head chef, has just complimented me on the quality of the mackerel, which makes me very happy. He said it's very hard for them to get mackerel as this quality in London, so it's really paid off bringing it up from Cornwall, because the mackerel is where it all started from.
Well, this is what I was doing wrong, apparently, on board that boat off Padstow. The Japanese coat their mackerel fillets in salt and then set them aside for a couple of hours to firm them up and take away any fishy odours. Then, before they're sliced up for sashimi, they're seasoned in a marinade made with mirin, sugar, water and konbu. A seaweed I'm getting to like very much indeed.
I've just had these sardines delivered. I was rather hoping to get some Mounts Bay sardines, because when the ambassador Nagami said about seasonality, my immediate thought was of a very nice night once when we were out fishing about this time of year in Mounts Bay, pulling up sardines with the same fisherman, with Stefan. So, you know, when I asked him to go out, that's what I was thinking, but unfortunately the weather's been appalling. Bless them, they still went out to try and catch some, but it was too rough, so they didn't get any. So these are from the Bay of Biscay. Just see what they're like. They smell all right. I'm just going to be a bit sort of red in tooth and claw here and just take a little bit of a piece off there. Hope you don't mind. Just put a bit of soy with them, really. It looks good. I'm sure these Japanese chefs will not approve of me doing this, but that's really good. They're lovely. They'll be fine. It's for the first course, and I was really hoping they'd be the Penzance ones, but it'll still be fine. It's the only Western dish in the whole banquet, the first course, incidentally.
This brill, I think, is up there with turbot and halibut, and it will be perfect in the sashimi because it's a really firm fish. And as for the gurnard, it's no longer thought of only as lobster bait. Now it's as sought after as red mullet or John Dory.
Well, the last course is going to be an autumnal fruit compote, and the centrepiece of that is going to be some quinces. Now, quince is quite an old-fashioned fruit. It's very hard to eat in its own right, but it makes a lovely syrup. Not only does it taste very nice and astringent, but it also has a deep sort of russet colour, and that clear stock, juice right over the top of my compote will make it really perfect.
I'm going to simmer these for about, well, for as long as it takes to get these bullet-hard fruits to soften and then break up with the potato masher. After all, I only want the juice and none of the pulp. I wonder whether or not this lovely fruit will be popular again.
Perfect.
Meanwhile, Inoue-san is expertly cutting up the bass into equal pieces ready for grilling. I could, after my visit to Japan, eat that raw.
Well, these are ceps, or porcini as the Italians call them. They don't use them in Japan. They use a mushroom, a really, really revered mushroom called matsutake, which are quite sort of similar in appearance and in price. So I just thought it would be very interesting to use our most revered mushroom and do it in a Japanese way. What I'm really keen on about porcini is just the look of them sliced like that. I think it has a sort of Japanese elegance about it. So what I'm hoping to do is to just to grill them along with the bass. I think they'll go very well indeed.
I could watch Inoue-san for hours. Every cut is done with one continuous action, no soaring back and forth. He's preparing the red mullet for the tempura.
This is the tempura dipping sauces, and I did write a recipe for it, but I was really keen to see the way they do it. properly because I got it out of a book. And actually, it's 4 parts dashi and 1 part mirin, 1 part soy, and then a big handful of bonito flakes. So, nice little tip, that.
And now for the first course and those sardines. I got the idea when I saw an old man on a beach in Corfu preparing anchovies with lemon and olive oil. But how to serve it in a Japanese way?
If I was doing this in my restaurant, I'd just probably put them on the plate like this. But I can't really see me doing that here because of the incredible delicacy of the way that the dishes are done here. So I'm just going to ask, in a way, if he would just give me a few tips on how he thinks we should lay this out.
In Japan, we normally actually take the skin off with sardines. We actually do a lot of, slices on, or designs on it.
What, like a sort of diamond pattern?
Yes.
Will you show?
ちょっと一回試していただいてよろしいですか?
Well, I'd never in a million years have thought of skinning a sardine fillet. This humble little sardine has started to resemble a very expensive watch strap. There seems no end to Inoue-san's skill. I wonder what he thinks of me. Oh, good Lord. It's perfect. That just says it all. That is the difference between Japanese and Cornish, I suppose. The amount of detail that's gone into that simple little sardine there, it says it all. My spider crabs have been cooking away for 20 minutes, but I'll leave them to cool down before I can get at the meat. I'm really pleased to be able to do something with these, because most of what's caught off Cornwall gets shipped off to Spain. Meanwhile, Koike-san turns a single radish into half a dozen delightful little butterflies to garnish the sashimi. If it was left to me, they'd get them in a bowl with some sea salt to dip them in. This is the difference between us. Gastronomic origami. I've seen tomatoes turned into roses, which I detest. But this fine detail and precision is clearly meant to be a sign of respect for the ambassador and his guests, who incidentally will be turning up in a couple of hours' time. Well, I can't do that, but I've handled a couple of thousands of these in my time. There's this very, I thought, lovely dish in Japan called shawanmushi. Is that right, Taka?
Chawanmushi.
Chawanmushi, yeah. Which is like a little baked egg custard, and you put very delicate things in it, particularly some chicken breast, which it often seems to have. You make it with eggs. But the prime ingredient in that, in my dish, is going to be these spider crab claws. I think that it'll work very well, but as I said, quite a lot of work. I wish I could crack eggs like that. If it was me, they'd be all over the floor. This is the basis of the dish, beaten eggs. I had this for breakfast in Japan one morning, and it inspired me to put it on the menu. It's a very loose mix, roughly half eggs to a mixture of mirin, a sake-based sweetener, and dashi. And this has been seasoned with a touch of light soy sauce and salt. That's very nice, very delicate, very nicely seasoned. So to make up the little shawanmushi pots, first a ginkgo nut, they're really important in Japan, followed by chicken breast and chestnuts, a little seasonal reference there, and some sprigs of trefoil, practically unknown at home, but very popular in Japan. And now for that lovely sweet crab meat. The thing about Japanese food, once people are used to it, is the way people like to eat, because it's very healthy, very light, delicate. And I remember saying when we were doing the banquet, when we went to the banquet with ex-Prime Minister Mori, that really, it's like Michelin 3-star food, but it's the sort of food you want to eat. It's not too sort of calorific, and you sort of get up from the table thinking, yes, let's face life, let's have some fun.
And now the pots go into this handsome steamer. That looks a bit like a Japanese temple. For 20 minutes until the egg mixture loosely sets like a little custard. We're ready for the sashimi now, where only the prime cuts of the fish are served. And this is where Koike-san and Noe-san's knife skills come into their own. And I sit back and watch with wonderment, tinged with a dash of envy. So this is how mackerel sashimi is made. The salt and the marinade really firms it up. I don't know what the serious aficionados of Japanese food will think about this menu, but I'm really getting something from it. In just a relatively short space of time, I've learnt such a lot, and I'll use that in my restaurant back in Cornwall. But I'll keep the handles on the saucepans. And there goes that little butterfly to sit on the top. And what he's saying is, look at the amount of detail and care that's gone into this sashimi.
What Inoue done is just cook the lobster tails very quickly, about 2 minutes in boiling water, just so to set the lobster, and therefore you can take the shell off easily. And now he's just portioning them up for the tempura.
I chose Cornish lobster in the tempura so everyone could get a taste of it. But back to the quince.
I'm just now adding about half the volume of sugar to juice. And I'm just going to bring it to the boil, and it will then start, all the impurities will rise to the surface. I'll skim them off. I'll be left with a nice clear syrup to poach the rest of my autumn fruit.
I thought I'd use a very English apple, the Cox, to poach in the quince syrup, and I got the idea of using persimmon from ex-Prime Minister Mori's banquet. It's a fruit that's becoming ever more popular here, and the Japanese really love it, and it looks so autumnal. The apples are done in a couple of minutes. It won't be long before the first guests start to arrive, and it's time to assemble the first course.
Good. Tomato. Yeah. Perfect. Right. Not too bad, Ambassador. We're just very impressed the way Inoue's cut them like that. We're just working out how they best will look in a Japanese way, you know. So we're just going to put a bit of olive oil on there and a tiny bit of Greek oregano. So it should be fine.
First to arrive is a lady who taught me the fundamentals of Japanese etiquette, an essential requirement for anyone even thinking of going there.
This is the miso soup, which is the last but one course. And he's using a dark miso paste, which is essentially a soya bean paste. But he's also cooked up the lobster heads. And I was just thinking, much as I wanted lobster in the tempura, there's so much flavour in the heads. Really, really happy that he's using the lobster heads to flavour the miso. It'll be really special. I'm looking forward to trying it, actually. One of the things that was a real, let's say, revelation in Japan with the use of pickles. I mean, I just love these pickles, particularly this burdock and the sour plums. Oh, and the cucumber. They're just sensational. This is going to come with the miso soup right at the end of the banquet, just before the sweet. And to me, it's a bit like the cheese course. I mean, I look forward to these pickles like I would look forward to some nice cheese. And in fact, tonight we're serving various very nice sakes, really seriously good ones, but also some wine. And with the miso, with the miso soup, I'm going to serve a Pinot Noir because I think it'll just go really well with these pickles. I love them.